Can one experience change your life? We believe the unlimited potential of consciousness has been untaught and untapped. Together, we can change that. The LightNet community was born as a citizen science discovery lab. Can our collective curiosity help us see the world in a whole new light?
Hi, my name is Zenka Caro with LightNet, where we help you experience something extraordinary. This is the Unlimited show where we feature people who are really unlimited with their life, with their consciousness, and what they're up to. And I'm excited to introduce you to Steve Bassett of the Paradigm Research Group. He is known as the UFO lobbyist. He's an agitator that has decided not to complain in the corners, but really go to the heart of the matter. He has been asking and building so much information and so much pressure to release the truth embargo on what you were saying is the biggest, most important discussion of human history.
It is the most important issue in human history. I'm willing to argue with anybody that's got another option, but yeah, it's a big deal, and it's fortunate for us. We're going to be here for it.
Yeah, and you, of all people, have done some of the most comprehensive, professional, strategic approach to really putting pressure on them to get the information out.
Pressure, yes. They used to call me the UFO lobbyist because I was the first lobbyist to register on this issue, and that's fine. I'm basically a political activist, a disclosure advocate, and really a anti-war activist in disguise. Okay, so those are the things. But my work for 26 years, with limited resources, doing what I could to educate the Congress on this issue, particularly the Congress. Not by going down and knocking on the door, because they don't want to talk to me. Maybe soon, but back in the day, no way. But by educating the media. I've done more to probably engage the media in this country on the politics of this phenomena, which is really the most important part right now for us, maybe anybody else. I've had over 500 articles written about my work, okay, including I helped generate 400 articles about the connection between candidate Senator Hillary Clinton and this issue, along with her advisor John Podesta and her husband. 400 articles during her campaign, which I thought could be very helpful if she won the election. Unless you have buku money, right, and you can go down and say, look, I just gave $500,000 to your PAC. I'd like to talk about, I don't know, fish farming or whatever the hell. No, they're not going to talk to you. So you get to them through the media. So you get the stuff in the media, and of course I base myself in Washington, D.C., and they learn, they pick up stuff from there, which starts getting them thinking, what should I do? So I've really been lobbying the media. Now there's some other people now lobbying directly to Congress, God bless them, okay? Thank goodness they finally arrived. So I'm not the only registered lobbyist anymore. So call it pressure, call it education. My role was to get the Congress to the point where they could start doing what they're supposed to do. Others have stepped in to really advance that, and now the Congress is doing exactly that.
Yeah, so who are the other heroes, both within the Congress and outside, that you feel are getting bolder?
Two individuals emerged in 2017 as part of an organization called the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences, which is made up of about, I think, 10 people who just happen to all be from the military intelligence complex, retired, and that's private citizens. Coincidental, I'm sure, and suddenly they're talking about this issue in a very profound way. It was a big deal, it got some press, but it would have faded, except that two of those people in particular, who I think were the point of the spear, arranged for 3 gun camera clips to be delivered to Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal, who then gave them to the New York Times, which then looked into the whole thing and came up with a couple of major articles, as well as putting the clips up on their website, which have now been seen by untold hundreds of millions of people. The first gun camera clips of UAPs taken ever from any government's files, ever, first three, and then wrote up about a program called ATIP. This was the milestone event. This was the turning point. New York Times gets the credit, even though the New York Times has been sitting on this issue and back on this issue for 60 years. Nevertheless, they finally came through. Good for them. And in the last 5 years, it's just been a steady, somewhat slow, but some steady march toward a disclosure, as I see it. And these two individuals are Chris Mellon and Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo was a career intelligence officer, Army officer, also DOD, and then Chris Mellon was a highly experienced person who has worked on the Hill, Intel Committee, DIA. He had the total credentials. And so these are the individuals who I think, and eventually they stepped out of the TTSA as things got closer, who have done the most to start setting the stage for the rest of the process. So they've done huge heavy lifting. And then as things move forward, Mr. Mellon was able to start briefing a whole bunch of people privately on the Hill, meaning no press, press release afterwards for their edification, bringing witnesses up and so forth. This went on for a long time. We don't know how many, but a lot. Thus seeding, he's priming the pump. He's seeding the fields, right? A lot of work there. And as a result, the members of Congress, and I say members, these are certain key committees, not everybody. We're talking Intel, we're talking Armed Services. At some point it reached a critical mass, and they decided, okay, let's go. And the first person to make the big move was Marco Rubio, who at the time was chairman of the Senate Intel Committee, slammed some legislation language into the NDAA Senate side. And a lot of people went, say what? Say what? What's going on here? Right? What's happening here? And off we go, okay? And over the next 2 years, there was first of all, there was some similar language or language put in the House version. Then that bill gets reconciled and passed, a big deal, set up this, set up that, people noticed. And then came the next bill, which is the one that just got signed by the president, and then had even more powerful language. And this one was sponsored in the Senate by Mark Warner, who is now the Senate Intel chairman. And then other members of Congress were speaking out, all right? Now there's about 9. The members of Congress, remember, this hasn't happened before, okay? The last member of Congress really that spoke out on this issue was all the way back in 1994-5, and that was Congressman Stephen Schiff of New Mexico, who decided to get into this issue early, ahead of the time, right? Well, there's a Chinese curse called, what is that Chinese curse? May you live in interesting times. Well, we got that one. There's another curse that are lesser known. May you be ahead of your time. I've been ahead of my time. It's a curse. He was ahead of his time. He had a rough time. It didn't go well, but he gave it a shot, and he deserves retroactively some serious recognition, right? Yeah. That's it. And then all of a sudden, Rubio. And then the next thing we know is Ruben Gallego steps in out of the House, puts some language in a bill. And then next year, Senator Gillibrand, now Rubio's Republican, she steps in, puts some language in a bill. And the next thing we know, Andre Carson steps up and says, I think I need to let's have a hearing up here to my my House subcommittee. And let's see, who else? Stephen Schiff mentioned he was briefed. And then there's Tim Burchett, who has been extremely aggressive. He's not on any of the committees that are going to be briefed, but somehow he got the word. You know, it's like it's a club up there. You're having lunch, somebody says, I got a classified briefing based on that legislation. Man, you wouldn't believe it. And Tim's going, can you tell me? I can't really say anything, but like, in case you were wondering, I think that's non-human stuff up there. And so Tim said, hello. And the next thing you know, he's on Tucker Carlson saying, there's extraterrestrials here. And now he keeps going and doing that. Well, he's right? And Mike Gallagher emerged in the hearing that Carson called for the House. Mike Gallagher, who is a rising star in the Republican Party, really sharp guy, presidential possibilities, just got put on the House Select Committee on China, big deal. Well, before all of that, before he was a rising star and getting elevated in the ranks, he appeared at the hearing on the committee. He was on the subcommittee, and he's asking questions of the two gentlemen. They came up to serve the committee. People criticized them. They were just doing what they were asked, come up and talk. It was early. They don't have much to say. And he asked them, aren't you aware that on occasion our nuclear missiles have been turned off by these supposed craft? And they said, oh, no, we're not aware of that. And then he said, and then after that, he says, before I finish, Chairman, I'd like to put the Wilson Davis notes into the record. Right? Now, this is all intentional. Right? Now, no questions were asked about it. The point is, he just told the world, the Wilson Davis notes may really be the real deal, and I just put them into the congressional record. So, and then Mike Aller, after that, he's getting praise, and now he's getting a subcommittee assignment. Now, for people that don't follow the Capitol in Washington and all this stuff, they're going, I don't know what the hell that means. But for somebody like me, I know what it means. It means that sharp people with presidential aspirations view this issue as something to get into, right? They're willing to talk about it, and all the members that I'm aware of, including Hillary Clinton during election, who've talked about this issue, I have not seen any political blowback. Nothing. Why? Because one, it's nonpartisan, okay? Two, it's true, and three, it's huge, all right? And so the message is growing that, hey, this is a wave you want to ride. So you might want to think about it. There's political capital here, there's history here, and so I fully expect that over the next weeks, because we're getting close to hearings, I think, you're going to see more members of Congress suddenly turning up on a show and going, by the way, you didn't ask me about this, the recent legislation. I'm thinking that stuff is extraterrestrial, just saying. Okay, and they're going to keep joining on. Hey, that's the way it works. And every one of them that speaks up, we're going to be one step closer to disclosure and the hearings.
That is so cool. That is amazing. And thank you for giving that overview to everyone watching. So I want you guys to reach out to these politicians and thank them. And I want to set up on LightNet a Heroes Hall of Fame, because the first people to, just like your career, was not easy. But once you get a critical effect, like you said, then all the penguins go. And so this, right, and you told me earlier that 90% of people in the United States believe that the government is not disclosing the truth on this. So this can be a political move for candidates to get elected, because they know 90% agree that there needs to be more information out. So this is a real thing, and this would be interesting to start putting these people's names one by one. Mm-hmm. These are the people that are doing that, and people are going to want to be on that list, want to be on that.
If I'm a politician and I'm sitting up on the Hill, and I know I got another election coming up, and I got to raise, God knows, $2-3 million to get elected, which is ridiculous, of course, stupid. You got to reform that. And I'm aware that the nation is suffering from a massive breakdown in trust, and everybody out there has got a theory about how the Congress and everybody else is involved in some sort of nefarious plot to take over the world, and nobody believes anybody. And I have opportunity to hook onto a major truth that the people want.
Yeah.
It's been already established.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I think I want to do that. That sounds good to me. I want to do that, okay? And that's fine. And you're absolutely right. Right now, and I like to say this in every interview I do, after 75 years of not being told what we should have been told in 1947, we're finally getting to the point we're going to get it. In other words, and the activist movement, which there was some sort of an activist movement back then. There's always been a little bit going on, but now it's kind of become more formalized. We're winning. Okay. Now, okay, great. What's the big deal about winning? Well, let me tell you. There's winning and there's winning. Disclosure is just the beginning of a whole nother time, the post-disclosure world. Okay, and so we need to do it right. And so, one, be graceful in this win, right? Be generous in this win. praise the people that are involved, even if you hate them, right? Okay, there are people that hate Marco Rubio. So what? Praise him for what he did on this issue. If anything, do that, right? Praise the journalists that interview, say, a Tim Burchett, bring him on and give him the voice. And you say, well, how do you do it? Every one of these members of Congress got a Twitter account.
Yes.
Most of the journalists got a Twitter account.
Great idea.
And maybe they have a TikTok account or whatever. Or email, whatever. If you can send in some praise saying, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
It's easy to tell people how much of an ass they are, and I hate you and that kind of stuff. And you know what? It doesn't have much effect.
Yeah.
And they don't share it. But when you praise people, it has a lot of effect.
Yeah.
And they share it.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you can't praise somebody, there's nothing to praise, fine. But if there is, don't hold it back. Because in other areas you don't like them. So if they're being rained praise from all these directions, what they're going to be going is, this is working for me. This is good. I want more of this. And more importantly, those that are going on saying, yeah, maybe we're going to get the truth, but the government's involved in this and that, and it's all going to turn out bad, whatever. That's winning badly, all right? Let's let the process go forward. Let's let disclosure happen and see what happens next. And provide the grace for that to happen. And it may just work out really well. Don't assume that past is prologue. Look, the government lied to me for 75 years. The government lied about Vietnam. The government lied about Iraq and so many other things. And there's so many things that really anger me about that. So what? Does that mean that I have to say, well, I'm angry about that, and so consequently I'm not buying what's going on, and I'm not going to give them credit? No, that's not the way to go. The way to go is the past is not prologue. We're moving forward. Most of the people that lied back then are dead now, right? Yeah. Most of the people that are involved in the truth embargo now, they didn't start it. It was an institutionalized process that they carried forward, right? And so let's win with grace, and that will pay off in the post-disclosure world when, after the announcement comes from the president, who I assume will be Biden, then it's, well, what else have you got? In other words, now we want to know everything, okay? Yeah, you told us they're here, great. Now, tell us everything you know. And by the way, they're going to quickly announce that, yeah, we knew about it all along, no problem. We'll say gracefully, oh, I understand. Now, in that sense, you're going to get them, they're going to cooperate more.
Yeah.
You're going to get more cooperation, they're going to get more information, they're going to be more reasonable about what they release.
Yeah.
All right? And so I'm just kind of getting people in the right frame of mind.
I love that, Steve, because we have to think long term about this.
Yes.
And there has been some sadness and anger involved in this issue with their not coming out. But the long play is to gracefully thank them, and then what? So that we can move both gracefully forward and backwards. So let's create two lists. Let's create a list of the all the politicians with their Twitter accounts and everything that everyone can access, and also the journalists, which is great. So what?
We'll create that list. But all you have to do is take a list. You can also just take a list and go on Twitter, just do a search and just line them right up.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. But it's good, your expertise on who is in this hero list of saying, like, who has been bringing that forward. And you listed some names, and it's going to evolve. So we want to get everyone in this list, and we'll just count how many we have left, and we'll do it. But the thing is, well, okay, go ahead.
No, I just want to help your listeners a little bit.
Yeah.
In terms of trying to get on top of this and doing some things like you said, check who's doing what and make a list. Well, there's a resource that I've spent years developing, and I can't tout it enough, and I'm going to find other ways to promote it. But on my website, under resources, now my website is paradigmresearchgroup.org.
Yes.
Okay. Under resources, if you slide on down to Print Media Archive, click on that. And then comes up the flash page. Then click on Print Media Archive, go through to the archive.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you are in an archive of 13,000 articles about this issue in mainstream press. And a range of mainstream press, but not the frivolous stuff, but just the small, the serious stuff. 13,000, 5,000 in just the last 5 years. And you can word search each year. In other words, if you're talking 2022, you could put in congressman in the word search, and then you go scan it by year, not the whole thing, by year. And so you can easily check out stuff, find stuff,
Cool.
and find the names of these Congress people and so forth.
Yeah.
By doing that, and also read some of the articles. If someone were to read, say, just the articles of the last 2 years would be about, 1,600. They would really be up on top of this. That's why I created it. Okay, it's a massive resource, and I got to promote it more. So yeah, that's another way to do what you're suggesting.
I love that. I love that. You've spent the time to curate this incredible library. And we also do that on LightNet as this living library. So this is an interesting synchronicity here. So moving on to the post-disclosure world, because like you said, it has implications on peace and energy and all sorts of things, and curiosity and everything. And that's what you said. So what do you hope for in the post-disclosure world? Like, you've already guided us well to this point. You've guided us through this transition of, it's okay, we know you didn't, what's happened. Mm-hmm. Everyone made mistakes, let's move on. So what would be your advice to us in this? What do you want to see?
Throughout history, there have been some major, I guess you could say, node points where things changed a lot. Though nothing like this. I mean, this is overnight, global, instantaneous. Nothing compares to this. But first of all, the post-disclosure world is going to be the rest of our lives. Okay, the whole rest of our lives. In fact, it goes on forever. Okay? An enormous amount. There's going to be it's going to be unlike anything I think any human has seen before. Period. And it's going to be pretty cool. A lot of opportunity, a lot of change, and so forth. There's starting to be some books about it. There's one in particular called AD After Disclosure by Bryce Abel and Richard Dolan. I recommend that. And you're going to see some more writings. Because disclosure is pretty defined. It's like, just get to the point where the president can finally confirm it, formally, which without that, we're not going anywhere. Some colonel at the Pentagon walks out in the parking lot and says, ETs are here, so what? It's got to come from the president. Or it could start with another head of state. I'd like it to be our president, all right? All the other head of states will follow, all right? That's pretty defined. The post-disclosure world is almost undefinable. So, but what are some of the things that I'm hoping for? I have big hopes here, and some people go, are you kidding? First of all, I happen to think disclosure is not the end game of this. In terms of the ETs, I believe the ETs have been helping disclosure along in their own way, various ways, and I can get into that if you want. But they're not simply completely bystanders, observing bystanders. No. They're helping. They're doing other stuff too. They're very busy, and so they're helping it along. So if there's an agenda there, and so I happen to think that disclosure is formal disclosure. And then is an absolutely necessary event that triggers what I call a global autodidactic learning curve of unprecedented proportions, nicely supported by the fact that we now have complete global media, unbelievable communication ability, where you can simply go on a website of somebody in China instantly who has some interesting stuff there about UAPs, and of course you can't read it, but then you hit translation into English, and so now you're reading that person. Or you can tweet somebody else around the world, and on and on. It's a global communication system that is staggering. It is as close to the noosphere that Teilhard de Chardin put out in his amazing book back in the 60s, as we've gotten so far, all right? And so when disclosure happens, the ability to get information everywhere, all at once, share and everything else, hold courses on it at MIT, which you can watch for free, whatever. So you've got this in which everybody that wants to is going to learn as much as they can about the ET thing as fast as they can. And so you're going to have this massive learning curve where the planet pretty much gets educated on this issue to the point where it's like, I can't take any more. Now, so that learning curve, first of all, takes a lot of the mystery out of it, makes what's coming next somewhat anticlimactic and safer, okay? And what's coming next? I believe it's open contact. We've had non-open contact, lots of non-open contact What is open contact? Open contact is not turning up in somebody's bedroom at 1 a.m. Open contact is communication with some heads of state or some news organizations, whatever form or fashion they want to do it, and then it's getting reported back to us. This group of ETs from that point is talking to us, and this is what we're talking about. That's open contact. That's a big deal, okay? That's not, I think, as profound as disclosure fundamentally, but ultimately it is the payoff. And so now we're in open contact with ETs. 2 years possibly. That's my frame of. I don't think we need more than 2 years on this. And I think the ETs don't want it to be more than 2 years. And frankly, it could be less than 2 years. It could be open contact in 6 to 8 months, because that learning curve is going to be almost enough to satisfy that. Okay, fine. So disclosure leads to open contact. So that's a big deal post-disclosure. But what's the rush? What is the rush? What is the really powerful subtext to this, amongst many other subtexts? It's this. It's very simple. The human race has been on a 10,000-year quest to destroy itself. It just can't stop, you know. So whether it's Genghis Khan virtually pillaging the entire Asian, continent, or this war, that war, and the weapons, arms race, and everything else, we've not been 10,000 years. I don't know how many hundreds of millions of people have killed, whatever. I mean, we're really good at killing ourselves. And of course, we sent a real message to the ETs in 1945 when we said, yeah, we have the ultimate weapon now, and we got it. We can't help it. We're going to have to drop it on some human beings. And if I'm an ET, that's a message to me. Yeah, you're really serious about this, and you don't seem to be changing your behavior. And so, as it happens, and this I find interesting. I think it's somewhat of a coincidence, but at the same time, we are approaching disclosure hearings and everything else. We are closer to congressional hearings and ultimately disclosure than we've ever been. We are closer to nuclear war than we've ever been. 90 seconds according to the doomsday clock, which started out 47 at 7 minutes to midnight. And more talk about nuclear weapons use, more talk about nuclear war than ever. Now, I'm not talking about crazy people on the internet. I'm talking about, op-ed people for the New York Times, former secretaries of defense, Congress people, scientists, thinkers. They're ruminating in various ways online and in interviews. A tactical weapon. Yeah, it could very much be used as a message, but how can we control it? And then we're very concerned about the hypersonic missiles, they can now travel so fast you can't shoot it. And this is standard now. And a lot of people are going, well, it's just more of the same. No, it's not. It's like really out of control. And we haven't been able to deal with it. The nuclear proliferation, nuclear arms issue is virtually completely stagnant. We leveled off at around 18,000, 20,000 weapons. Okay, down from 86,000. And then, while we're not able to deal with this issue, and it's continued to sitting there ready to blow at any time. We've almost had nuclear war on a few occasions because of accidents. Not really discussed a lot in the media, but it's happened. We have the proof. We know the people that were there, right? We almost launched, but at the last minute, so we're rolling the dice. Every few years, roll the, and people go, well, if it comes up snake eyes, it's over. I'm going, well, hold a minute here. Hold back.
Right.
Greatly undermine the trust of
it's like
government.
everything. But the thing is, the topic I want to get to right now is okay, so when we have the open contact, and you said we have diplomats that are meeting with their people and our people together, there's an organization that is putting together the first ET embassy.
I'm aware of it.
Where they can, you know what I mean?
Cool.
And yeah, you know what I mean?
It
and
may
it's
not be the embassy, but just the fact that they're doing
right.
it is cool.
It is cool, and it's close to getting approved. And so that's another place that you guys, that we can put pressure, is to get they want to do this. They've been working on it since, I think, 72, right? And so it's like, okay, well, they want to do it in a legitimate way, legal way, why not? Because they've spent this, I think they have countries interested in putting the embassy there. So the question I have is like, I am sick of that 10,000 years of fighting. Like, I mean, what is possible if we cooperate? And so I'm thinking, wait a minute, we can't, like, where's the State Department in this? Like, why are we having the military only deal with this issue?
Which issue?
Well, the ET issue, it seems, it's like, and so that's why I'm thinking, like, here we get disclosure. Is this going to be a military issue, or is this going to be a cultural issue? And where's the state? Where's diplomacy in this? It's not, you're either showing up with soldiers or showing up with diplomats. You know what I mean? Which are we going to do?
Valid question. Look, disclosure now makes it possible for the State Department to enter, but I think that shouldn't be the State Department. It should be the Department of Extraterrestrial Affairs. I'm prepared to be the first Secretary of Extraterrestrial Affairs, cabinet level position, no problem. That's a logical thing. They may do that. They probably will do that. Okay, and the military aspect is never going to go away, but you're not going to be able to expand beyond that until you get disclosure. Disclosure is this door that we have to go through to get to where we have to go. It's in life. It's nice you have 6 or 7 doors. If anybody's got another door that gets to where we have to go, I'm willing to hear about it. I don't know what door that is. I can't even imagine what it is. That is one door. That door has to be open. Once it's open, then there is in front of that a huge, I guess, a hallway full of doors, and everybody, pick one, go through it, and that allows things to go. It's like the truth embargo is basically like it's like a blood clot in the heart. It's stopping everything. It's locked us up.
What would make the human race stop fighting with each other? What would it take?
I think it's absolutely going to take learning that we're not alone in the universe, that there's other civilizations out there.
Are we going to want to fight them? Like,
there's some people are going to want to fight them, but a lot more people are going to say, "Are you out of your mind?"
Like let's collaborate, right? Let's do science.
The 10,000 years of war and destruction we've gone through is primarily driven by a relatively common worldview. I mean, everybody has their own worldview, but some worldview is kind of common, right? It's ubiquitous. Yeah. And so the idea of the other, right? Be wary, don't trust them, kill them if necessary.
Especially if they're smarter than you.
This has been built into human worldview for a long time. Yeah. Now it emerges kind of logically from the very essence of Darwinian survival of the fittest evolution. In other words, our whole existence right now is based upon billions and billions of organisms and species, killing each other and themselves, whatever, in order to see who survives and adapt, and it goes on and on and on, and then you get a sentient being. So it's not surprising that we may want to kind of continue that, and part of history is kind of like that. It's like, okay, if you can adapt to be able to protect yourself from the next invasion, then you survive. And if they can't adapt and you take down, then they survive. And so the survival of the fittest, which is almost built into our DNA, has continued but manifest large. Okay, once you become sentient, it's a whole. First of all, the first thing is once you become sentient, once you have sentient, high-tech, manipulative beings like us, not whales, not porpoises. I mean, they're sentient, but they're never going to build a computer. Darwinian evolution must end. It cannot go forward. Because for one thing, if you live too long, you have the ability to prolong the idea that humans are going to die before they can give birth, and the adaptability and whatever. And all. No, that's out the window. It's amazing how you can live despite your deficiencies. And so how are we going to evolve going forward? The evolution of the human body, meaning the human being, going forward is not going to be Darwinian. It is going to be our own manipulation of ourselves. Okay, so that's number one. So we cross that line. Okay?
Yeah.
And so on that basis, okay, we've left the Darwinian survival of the fittest world. So let's really leave it. Okay, we're gonna, and so the ancient idea that you must constantly kill other entities to get space, get resources, and whoever wins that moves forward, that's out the window. We haven't done that yet. We haven't got there, okay? We're still thinking, the Chinese are probably thinking, a nuclear war between Europe and the United States could really annihilate most of those countries and everything else, and kill off most of the people, which would just leave a whole lot of Chinese left, and we may end up running the whole shebang, okay, without even lifting a finger. This kind of mentality is out there.
Yeah.
You know it's out there. That's got to go, okay? And so disclosure, open contact, has the kind of power to change worldview on a global basis unlike anything else. And I've asked people, say, give me something that could change, have some impact on every single person's worldview around the world. Now somebody might mention, well, the first landing on the moon. It was pretty powerful. And there's no question that when the world saw the first human step on the moon, it affected their worldview in a certain way. And I think it was a positive way. And that's good. But what has the power to affect worldviews so substantially that the leaders of nations and the would-be leaders of nations are no longer willing to think along those lines anymore? That they're going to start saying, let's get rid of the weapons, let's cooperate, let's stop the destruction, right? Why spend trillions of dollars building something and then spend hundreds of millions blowing it up? That is going to take a lever, you know, like Armin says. And there, if somebody's got something better than disclosure, let me know. Some people think, oh no, it'll be a charismatic person of enormous influence. It will emerge and it will teach peace and people will go with it. I don't think so. It could be, what's something else? It could be a religious thing, right? Some people believe that if Christ returns, he will deal with these issues and set things right. Again, there's just nothing except this. This is it. And people say, okay, fine. What's your best reason for thinking that this is it? It's the ETs and what they do, right? If there was no ETs here, it was just a science fiction thing, a possibility that people wrote about, but they really weren't here. And I was trying to pose, what we need is ETs and open contact and it'll solve the problems. People saying, are you what? Give us a break. But they are here. Not only are they here, but we have a pretty good idea of what they've been doing for 75 years. So this is not a trivial speculation. This is the best shot at a global worldview change that can finally set us on another path.
A paradigm
before
shift.
we destroy ourselves. Because if we don't get it, we are going to have that nuclear war. Yeah. People say, no, and then those that simply can't accept that we would ever do that, their last bastion of hope is, well, we may launch the weapons, but the ETs will turn them off in flight, and they'll just fall to the ground harmless. Okay, that is possible. But that's like hold'em poker. That's going all in. Yeah. That's going all in with everything we have. If we're right, well, the ETs stop the war, and then we have open contact, and it'll be okay. And if we're wrong, we lose everything.
Yeah, like you said, it's the snake eyes thing.
We don't want to gamble with the entire history of our people.
Yeah. So, in closing, it's like these are the kind of issues that we are dealing with in all of our lives right now. Are we being overly competitive? Are we being cooperative? Are we being curious? Are we living in the past? Are we seeking truth or seeking to be right? All of this is a reflection. Our society is a reflection of our ethos as people together. And so this is a shift, like you said, that needs to come, and we need to really think about this paradigm shift is going to happen, and what you guys want to show up, how we all want to show up on the other side, because it is a big thing. It is going to be confusing for a lot of people. It's going to be wild, and this is where, governments play a role, businesses play a huge role, and people play a huge role in our society. So how are these groups communicating, and is it really all the government that needs to be doing the dialogue? Is it the people that should be doing the dialogue? Is it businesses to be, you know what I mean? There's all these different pieces of society, and we are really at a precedence. And if this is going to happen in 2 years, let's get ready and let's practice being peaceful in our own lives, because if we don't, right, it's going to show up in our politics. It's going to show up everywhere. And I think that's What I think we're all trying to do in general is balance the female and the masculine, balance the, you know what I mean, get some balance going. And that's, like you said, otherwise we're going to keep repeating this mistake. They'll stop, you know, the snake eyes from happening, but then we're going to do it again and again and again. So there's a maturity, there's a step up that we have to take.
Yeah, let me clarify here. If we can somehow get past the Ukraine war, I think we've got 2 years for that learning curve. If we can't, we've got to get that open contact sooner than that. And then another thing to consider, because this issue does have a very huge presence within the United States for whatever reason. Okay, it's not that it's confined here, it's not, but we really are into it, a lot of activity. A lot of people are viewing this from the standpoint of this worldview issue and worldview change. They see the United States and they're going, oh, you know, no, this is a lot of good stuff here, and I think we can maybe work it out and get to a better place. That may be true, but they're looking at it from their culture. It has to be a global worldview change, right? If the United States just gets it together and the rest of the world doesn't, hey, it doesn't matter, we're screwed. So put yourself in China, right? Put yourself in India, right? Put yourself in the Middle East, those countries, and try to look at the potential of worldview change there. And I assure you, it's not like here. And so when I talk about worldview change, I'm talking about worldview change, not America view change. And so people in this country need to keep that in mind. If they're a little lukewarm about this idea.
Yeah.
8 billion people, 200 countries, I don't know how many religions, 1,000, 2,000 languages, and all of that is a factor in whether we're going to have that nuclear war. Okay? People talk about North Korea. They talk about Iran. These are two very different cultures, right?
Yeah.
It can come from anywhere. And so this impact, something has to happen that can impact all of these cultures, all of these nations.
Yeah.
That's disclosure. Nothing else comes close.
Yeah. That's great. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Maharishi effect, the transcendental meditation.
Sure.
People are working on that. Yeah. So, you know, if 7 million of us or 7,000 of us decide that we're creating peace in our, you know, in our meditations, we literally reduce crime, car accidents, battlefield, and this is approved. You know, this is 400 articles. You're talking about, you know, 30,000. So we all have a part to play in this shift, and you know, this is a critical time. So let's become peaceful inside, because that's like literally, you know, this could be another way to approach the situation. We all have to approach this in all the different ways, because you said it's all these countries. You know, the U.S. economy is built on the, you know what I mean, military-industrial complex. So how do we reinvent the economy? You know what I mean? Like all these social, economical, you know, this all tied in together, and we have to reinvent ourselves in this moment.
I'm looking forward to reinventing the economy.
I am too.
Okay.
There's so much fun stuff we can do. You know, there's so much opportunity, and especially when you add the X factor, which is another culture, another nation, star nations coming with all of their tech and combining and traveling. I mean, don't you guys want to go to another galaxy? You know, like let's time travel.
Yeah,
let's do
that would
stuff.
be kind of cool. But you
That's
said
a good
something
industry,
about,
right?
You mentioned TM, and I'm aware of TM, and I'm aware of some of the things they've tried to do. And 7 million people doing that would be nice, and I'd invite them to do that. But let me also suggest something a little more mundane or temporal. If 7 million people were to just donate some modest resources to the activist movement,
To peace.
guess what? I say, well, peace, sure, but the activist movement on the ET issue, on
Yeah.
the disclosure issue,
Okay.
we haven't been getting a lot of funding. Okay, this has been a tough gig. The truth embargo, one of its chief objectives is to minimize anybody getting crazy and putting some money in this.
Yeah.
And so 7 million people want to do that more tangible support. That would also help.
Yeah.
You can do both. You can meditate and you can support with resources.
It's
This is a
huge.
real movement, and it has enormous needs, and it's not done yet. And so I'm hoping that some of this openness and all this awareness is happening will translate into support.
Yeah, because you know, Steve, if anybody should be getting support right now, it's the people who have been in this the longest. You've been, and you're.
Well, I'm talking everybody, right?
But I actually want to call that in for you right now, because it's important that, you've shown your track record and you've shown up and you've really been in this and you've really been doing a massive job. Like, you've moved a lot of stuff forward. And so the Paradigm Research Group is someone that gets to be supported in this. So if if you're putting in $100, that's $100. If you're putting in $10,000, you're putting in $10,000. This is important to direct funds to you. I do want to build this thing that I'm talking about with you. We're going to need volunteers. So it's not just about money. Who's going to build all the Twitter thing? Who's going to keep track of it? Who's going to organize people tweeting to these journalists? And it takes all of us to do this. It takes resources, time, energy, all of that. So
yeah, and I want to mention that the Paradigm Research Group is currently kind of, I guess you could say, in suspension in a way, because I'm about to convert it soon into a nonprofit, which it's never been. And so for now, let me get the nonprofit set up, because that's when we need that. But I should point out, you're going to see the emergence of a number of nonprofits on this issue. Literally, the disclosure issue and post-disclosure world. They're coming, and all I can say is, the more support they get, I'm talking up to hundreds of millions of dollars, because believe me, there's people who can do that, and they do it.
Yeah.
$100 million has been spent trying to save the whales. God bless them. I love whales.
Yeah.
But this issue is bigger.
Yeah.
And so I'm giving people advance notice. When those nonprofits start turning up, if their job is getting disclosure and the truth on this, please support them, whether you're a billionaire or whether you're just a citizen who wants to do a little help.
Yeah. Well, LightNet, by the way, is a nonprofit. And in our charter is the Dream Machine. And the Dream Machine is to distribute money to creators who are doing things. So we invite you to contact us, team@lightnet.org, and direct your funds toward Steve's projects and and even directing it toward what he thinks would be good, with other organizations, because it's time to collaborate. So this is, and you're right. It's funny because in crypto we call the whales the guys with the big crypto accounts. You know what I mean? So all that, we actually take crypto. It was a lot of emails, a lot of confusion, but we set up a nonprofit crypto account. So we're getting strategic about this, because money is energy, and we need to put energy on this, because this is the time. This is the time to do it. So before we blow ourselves up, let's go into awe and wonder with a totally new conversation and a new civilization and new questions and new places to travel and new romances and new outfits and new bars and embassies and cultures. I mean, imagine if they really were here with us. How interesting would that be?
They are
to be on the
here
subway.
with us.
Yeah, they are, right? To be on the subway. That guy was blue. Like, whoa. Right? So thank you, Steve, for all you're doing in the world. It was great to spend the evening with you. What an honor.
All good. All righty.
All right.